Hey guys, Luton here. So today I'm back with Battlefield, and what I wanted to do was highlight for you one of the most classic mistakes you see in pretty much all public games. Now, I was playing solo today, I was playing as a medic, and we're playing just a general conquest game right here. Now you can see that at the beginning the teams are pretty evenly split over the flags, but we're just about to take control of C. The previous game that we had with the setups here, a few people switched in, switched out, but it was generally pretty balanced, so we didn't really anticipate any kind of major steamroll on this round. So what I'm going to highlight today is really a classic issue of just following Doritos, follow the leader, follow UI, not really thinking outside of what they can maybe see directly in front of the player. Because, you know, Battlefield now, people often, you don't find people think too much about what it is they're doing beyond what they can literally see. And to be fair, this has been something which has been an issue in Battlefield and public games for a long time. No surprise there. But, you know, this is something which can easily be countered with you guys if you have like 2 or 3 people and you're playing together. And this is the other thing. Often when I play Battlefield, I often say, you know, you can play however you want, you can do whatever you want, but usually when I play with people, what we try to do is we try to fill in the gaps. So we fill in the gaps that are left by the public players, because public players are just going to run around all over the place, just chasing the nearest kill that they can get their hands on, and they don't really think too much about like the overall sphere of what's going on. If you find people doing that more often than not, they're usually like a squad of people. Okay, so let's go back to what's happening in here. So at the beginning we had the enemy going for A and B, we were going D and E, and we contested C. We've taken C, and now we're suppressing the enemy back, and they're having a really hard time kind of getting up here towards this. They've got an uphill battle literally on their hands. Now you can see again a little bit further forward, C and B are contested, but we're generally taking control there. Some of us are pushed down to A to put some pressure onto that, and again that makes the enemy distracted. It makes them realise that they're being attacked from multiple positions, and it makes it more difficult for them to reinforce just on one flag. That's always a really good thing to do in any game. Like any game of Battlefield, like if the enemy are being, you know, way too strong because they're just continually assaulting one point, and this is another issue with public games, is that very often public games in Battlefield, everybody just goes for one point all the time. The thing with that is it just means that if one team is a bit stronger, they're always going to win on every single point. If you have a stronger team, the best thing, like if you're facing a stronger team, the best thing you can do is try and split up into smaller groups, try and attack them on several individual points at once, and then perhaps they will find it more difficult to control those, and you might find you get an upper hand. Okay, so now further forward again, you can see we've now controlled C, B, and if you look at the map there, you can see most of our guys are covering this huge area down the middle of the map. We've already got full control. We've got so much control that I decided to change up to a medic with an optical, because I figured, well, you know, I can probably just sit back a little and control the points and pick off guys steadily. But as you can see, there wasn't really even any enemy coming through here because they were getting like held back so heavily into A. And it made me think to myself, okay, well, what I really need to be thinking about, see, I was trying to take a position here where I could just sit back and just steadily just pick people off one by one, and it would be nice, relaxing and chill for me, and I could just get some kills, and it was no big deal. But then I started to think, like, they're really not getting through here. And I knew that there was like 2 points in onto this already, so this one and the one that we can see directly ahead of us where we were attacking before. And I was starting to get concerned, thinking, we're pushing really, if you look at the map, you can see we're pushing really heavily in on 2 points out of 3, but the one on the right hand side is not really being contested at all. And something that I've said in Battlefield for a long time is don't always assume that you just automatically have the upper hand. Yeah, we've got 370 score and they've got 200-ish, but we're in the very early stages of the game. You know, things could change very easily. So I decided to bring up my mini-map and have like a little focused look on what is going on here. And what we'll do is we'll zoom in on this a little bit further, and I'll just highlight what I'm looking at here. It's pretty straightforward, but nonetheless. So you can see, look, when I look at it in a second, you see most of our forces, like I say, attacking through 2 main points that go down into A. But look at that one on the right hand side there. Okay, over here I was thinking, wait a minute, there's like nobody here. We have no people there, and they've got 2 complete routes that they can take up on that right hand side. And this is what happens always in public games, because they're focusing on where the enemy are, not where the enemy are not. So I was just thinking, well, it's very obvious. It's incredibly obvious what's about to happen. They're going to move over there, they're going to push through, and they're going to attack us from behind, and it's going to give them a clear attack onto E, C, and also D. And then once you get back capped, they'll push through, take all of the guys out, and then perhaps get onto B. So it's a very serious situation, and it's literally about to go down. Now, I was playing on my own today, but if I'd been playing with a couple of other guys, we all could have gone over there and had a much more successful control at that point, main control of the game. But literally, as I arrive, I wildly spray down a guy who is trying to come through to backcap us. And again, if I hadn't been there, if I hadn't bothered to think to move over there, he would have got behind, maybe his whole squad spawned, and they could have started to backcap us. So you need someone on your team somewhere to realise that this is going to happen. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster. And yeah, we're far ahead, but honestly, if they were to get behind us and like completely unseat our situation, then it would be really, really terrible. And also the fact that I'm trying to sort of mark targets and get these kills as well, try and keep control of the point. I get a few kills here, but as you see, they just overwhelm me because the enemy have realized, hey, this is our opportunity to get through here. I type into the chat, they're flanking us so that other people can realize what's going on. So fast forward a little bit, and sure enough, they break through, they get to E. But our guys do start reacting, unusually actually. Our guys did start to fall back, and they did start to get in on the point, which is really good because sometimes, even when you start getting back capped, the team is so tunnel vision on getting those kills on those like choke points, they don't actually realize they're getting back capped. But today, the team actually did react, and they did actually turn around and get on in it, which was good. Even so, as I predicted, a little bit further down the line here again, and you can see we got control back of E, but now we are losing D, C, and B. And this is what I mean, how a situation can unravel very, very quickly. Because when you're focused on one choke point, you've really got to make sure you maintain full control if that's how you want to play it. Because otherwise, it just falls apart. Skip forward again, and you can see we're still under contesting for B, D, and E. So we're just kind of like, we're really, really unraveling here and losing complete control. Because it only takes 1 or 2 people to get behind the line, then they can start spawning in a squad or 2 squads, and then before you know it, the whole thing has unraveled. Now, with the way that the ticket scoring works in Battlefield right now, it's not so much of a problem because so long as you have a decent lead, and this is the other point to make, I always say this in Battlefield, make sure you build up a lead before you start taking any risks, because you want to make sure you have a nice lead before you get really, really aggressive. So you can build up a buffer of tickets, because if you don't have that, and they suddenly get behind you and start back capping you, and you really didn't have enough tickets to play with, that's where your entire game is going to unravel, and before you know it, you're going to be losing. Now, in this game, we managed to maintain control because our guys were moving around and capping and securing and defending and clearing off of points. It was really, really helpful that I had actually some guys in my squad who are actually coming over, and as you can see right here, actually bothering to medic up. I mean, that really does make such a massive, massive difference, especially when you're battling over control points. But even at this stage, look, we're still lost A, B, D, and C. So, you know, that one point, that one moment in the game really unraveled the whole thing, and it very, very easily on a different day and a different team could have completely lost the game. And if we had just held that point, if we'd have held control on that point, it would have been a completely different situation, and we would have rinsed the enemy just holding them back onto A. So it's just worth taking note that when you're in a game of Battlefield, don't just look at where the enemy are, don't just look at where the shots are coming from. Make sure you pull up that mini-map, make sure you look around, look at where the enemy are moving, look at, more importantly, where your team are. Because whenever I'm playing, I'm usually looking not so much at where the enemy are, but where my team are not. Because wherever my team are not, that's where the enemy are going to realize they need to go, and that means you can easily predict where they're about to move to. You can move there with your squad, you can get the jump on them, you can set up good defensive positions, and then you can just absolutely annihilate them. So that's my little tip for today. It's a big mistake that people seem to make endlessly. Hope that helps. I'll see you next time, guys, for a bit more Battlefield.